Northwest Insurance. Auto, business, home, and more. Who said insurance was born? Protect your car, protect your family. Northwest Insurance. If you need a helpful team, the best in the community. Grab your phone, what are you waiting for? Northwest Insurance. Northwest Insurance.
Hola, 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 and welcome back to Beyond the Policy, covering everything Dallas, sponsored by Northwest Insurance. I'm your host, Mark Villasana, and joining me as always is my sister from another mister, my mensch from another bench, my BFF, marketing manager of Northwest Insurance Agency, Miss Lila Levy. Hello, Lila. How are you doing today?
Hey, Mark. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Are you ready for
Good.
episode number 2?
Look, I think I'm ready. I brought my iced coffee again, but this time it's not decaf, and I had an extra 5 shots of put in there, so I think I'm ready to roll.
5 shots?
5 shots of espresso.
You're
put
hop,
in there.
skip, and jump away from a 12-step program, Lila.
I know. I needed my caffeine. Usually I go decaf because I get plenty of caffeine with tea I drink through the day, but today was a special day because we have an extra special guest.
We do have a great guest. I don't want to pull up to the back of the studio and see you listening out there for coffee shots. That's
You
not
know
gonna
what? If you do, just walk the other way and act like you don't know me.
Okay. Well, we might have to lift some weight today because last week we had a professional radio guest on. He kind of carried the weight for us, but
Yeah.
we'll have to pull our bootstraps out this week and get to work. You think
Yeah,
we can do it?
we will. But again, we know we have a great guest.
We have a
so
fabulous guest.
We may
Can't
not
wait to
have
get-
to again.
Hopefully, we'll just let them do all the
Let them do the heavy lifting.
All the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as promised, since this is an insurance podcast, we will actually discuss some insurance today. And today we'll be discussing business owners policy because it's very, very relevant to who our guest is. But before we do that, Lila, I think it's important we discuss what insurance is, just basically in layman's terms what actually an insurance is. And we did decide that this was going to be an insurance podcast, so it's important we discuss insurance for the tax write-off. Okay?
For the tax
For the
write-off.
tax write-off. Okay. So first and foremost, Lila, insurance is a contract between you and the insuring company. It is a legally binding contract. Did you know that?
I did know that. I actually did know that.
So when you go in and you purchase whatever type of policy it might be, whether it be auto, home, or business, you're actually signing a legally binding contract.
Yes.
Okay. And which is very important because the legal industry plays a big part in what actually insurance will pay out. The legal profession and insurance industry are really almost married. A lot of people don't know that, but it's a lot of legalese goes on in insurance. But it's important to know that it is a contract. The second thing to think of insurance really is as a safety net for unforeseen accidents or occurrences, right? For example, a car accident. If you purchase a car insurance policy, your insurance policy is a guarantee that they will reimburse you for whatever losses you might have incurred for your car. Same thing with a home. If we have a natural disaster, fire, theft, what be, that legally binding contract is allowing you to get reimbursed for whatever's lost. Business owners policies, which we'll discuss today. For example, if you are a restaurant owner, hint to our guest. If you're a restaurant owner and God forbid there was a natural disaster and you were unable to open the doors, or someone maybe received injury as a direct result of your company's actions or one of your employees' actions, an insurance policy would cover to reimburse the lost party. So really, think of insurance like a safety net. Now, what you pay for the insurance, Lila, is called a premium. Okay, so your monthly installment, some people pay monthly for their insurance or semi-annually or annually. Those are actually called a premium. And the insurance company is guaranteeing you, when you pay that premium, that they will reimburse you for whatever set amount your legally bound contract says it will reimburse you for. So it's a really, like I said, a legal contract. There's a lot of innards into that policy that we will get into as we discuss policies more and more. But I kind of want to just give a general idea of what an insurance contract is. Does that make any sense, or I just
Makes
rambling?
totally make. Well, you were rambling.
How
but
many
that's
how many
okay. You
cups of
always
coffee
do.
did you drink while I was going on?
I did. I wish I had gotten 7 shots of espresso. Come to think of it, that'll be next
Well,
episode.
do you mind getting off the ceiling? Okay. And that being said, about insurance, today we're going to discuss business owners policies, right?
Right,
A
right.
business owner's policy is a contract like all insurance policies are. And there are really three main caveats to a business owner's policy. It's a bundled policy, and you're going to get three main caveats. Like I said, one of them, Lila, is you're going to get general liability insurance. Okay, that's one of them. And what that will do, that covers any legal fees you may have, any medical bills or damages if your business is held responsible for injuries or property damage. For example, I'll give you an example of that. About 30 years ago, I don't know if you remember, there was a woman who was driving through a McDonald's. She picked up a cup of coffee along with her McNuggets or her Egg McMuffin. Apparently, she spilled the coffee on her, and she sued McDonald's.
Right.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about that. And that was something that happened in 1994, and people still remember and talk about it. Even people who are younger than that weren't even around when that happened. I heard some guys on the radio a couple weeks ago talking about it, and they were in their 20s. But this was a really pivotal, big case. This woman, she was 79 years old. It was 1994. She, as you said, she went through a McDonald's drive-through, and she got a cup of a hot coffee to go, and it spilled in her lap. And she incurred some major burns because of it. And she had to go to the hospital and get treatment. And then she decided to sue McDonald's. And her lawyer's the lawyer's argument was that the coffee was unreasonably hot. It was between 180 and 190 degrees, and the jury agreed, and the jury said wanted to award her $200,000 in compensatory damages and $2.7 million punitive. Damages, and that was reduced actually to $480,000 on appeal. Okay. But then what she eventually received was undisclosed. It was confidential. What she eventually received.
I'm guessing free Happy Meals, maybe.
Well, probably a little bit more than that. What I was thinking as I've thought about that is probably not lower than the 480, but not as high as 2.7 million, right? And so, and what this lawsuit did was, there are two sides of a coin that kind of are two sides of thinking about this. One of them is that this opened up the door to a lot of frivolous lawsuits and tort reform. And this was viewed as a case of excessive litigation. But the flip side of that coin was that it was viewed as a legitimate claim for compensation, which I personally subscribe more to that theory. But I do understand the point that it opened the gates to a lot of frivolous lawsuits. So...
definitely the end result of that was we've become a more litigious society.
For sure.
And again, I mentioned earlier how tied the legal profession and insurance is because of issues like this.
Yeah.
This poor woman who got burnt, and I'm sure she had valid point. And if jury decided she needed to be reimbursed, I'm sure she was well deserved. But again, like you said, the other point of that is now you cannot go to a park, look at a park bench without seeing an advertisement for a personal injury attorney. You can't go even to a sporting event without seeing one. So they are everywhere. And you said she spilt it in her pelvic region. So
correct.
I think she deserved all $0.27 million or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
oh my
serious.
Gosh.
Well, that's part of what a business owner's policy does. A couple other things they do offer is property insurance, which protects your business property, including your building if you're a building owner, or your equipment, inventory against risk like, again, fire, theft, or natural disaster, vandalism, things like that. And finally, a business owner policy has something called business interruption insurance, which is pretty self-explanatory. That helps cover the lost income or operating expense of your business if you are temporarily unable to operate. So, for example, if someone had a restaurant, again, hint to our guest, if they had a restaurant and there was a natural disaster or, God forbid, a fire and they were unable to open their doors, their insurance policy would reimburse them for the lost income that they might have lost for those days they had to close. So things like that. And it does cover other things. You can add different coverages like cyber liability or equipment breakdown insurance, things like that, depending on what type of industry you're in. So basically, those are the three caveats of what business insurance covers. And as always, Lila, if you have any questions, you can email us. Insurance questions where?
Yeah, info@NWagencies. That's NWAGENCIES.com. info@NWAgencies.com. We would love to get questions from our listeners, from our viewers, and then cover those topics in future podcasts.
Yes, please send us your
I
questions.
wanted to bring up also another bizarre, not so bizarre, but it really kind of floored me, lawsuit that I remember hearing about. In one of my past career lives, I worked for a coffee company, and one of my coworkers told me, excuse me, sorry about that, that he told me about a grocery store chain, and he did not tell me which one, but so I can't disclose which one, but he told me about how a child was with his mother and got into a shopping cart, but did not sit, at the front where you're pushing it, didn't sit there where your legs hang down, but sat in the cart part where you put your
cargo
groceries.
area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this child had some kind of a food allergy and became very ill from sitting in that cart because whatever groceries had been in there, I guess most recently before he got in there, he was allergic to. Like if he had a strawberry allergy, I guess maybe there were quarts and quarts of strawberries in there. I don't know. But that his family sued this grocery chain. And I just thought, who would think?
Again, the society is so litigious these days. And unfortunately, people, if they understand there's insurance policy in effect, they understand there's money behind that policy.
Yes.
So that drives them to file a lot of frivolous claims, such as the strawberry one. I think that story would have worked better with shellfish, but strawberry, we'll go strawberry.
We're going to choose strawberries.
So basically, in a nutshell, let me also add, though, real quick, that it's important to remember you always check with your local agent or insurance company if you have any questions, because although I'm an insurance professional, I don't have all the answers. So in a nutshell, that is what a business owner's policy is, which is very relevant to who our first guest is. And we're going to take a quick break right here. But when we get back, we'll introduce our very special guest. And you've been listening to Beyond the Policy, covering everything Dallas with Mark and Lila. Thank you.
In the heart of Dallas, we know that life moves fast. And when it does, you need an insurance company that's as reliable as the city we call home. At Northwest Insurance Agency, we're proud to be a part of the Dallas community, offering customized coverage to protect your home, your car, and your family. Whether you're navigating downtown or enjoying a weekend in the suburbs, we've got you covered every step of the way. We're more than just an insurance company. We're your Dallas neighbor, always here to help. Northwest Insurance, proudly serving Dallas.
Okay, we are back, Lila. All right.
We're back.
All right. We discussed business owners policy, and we kept mentioning the restaurant business, and that is because of who our next guest is. We're very honored and lucky to have her here today, especially because she has been on the campaign trail. Joining today is someone who has been making waves in Farmers Branch for years. She's a longtime Farmers Branch resident, a dedicated community servant, and a successful business owner. She is president of the Farmers Branch Rotary Club, a member of the Historical Board, and she is passionate about improving the quality of life of Farmers Branch citizens and supporting the public safety and ensuring fiscal responsibility. You, Lila, might know her as the co-owner of Cuquitas, the Mexican restaurant that's been serving up delicious food for decades here in the Dallas area. But now she's stepping into a new role as a candidate for Farmers Branch City Councilwoman. Ladies and gentlemen, Lila and insurance groupies across the world, please help me in welcoming candidate for Farmers Branch City Council, Mrs. Elizabeth Villafranca.
Hey, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
being
much.
here.
I know you've been on the campaign trail, so for you, taking the time out is we feel very honored, so I appreciate that. Tell me, we met a couple weeks ago at another, what was that, for Envision. You want to tell us a little bit about that? Do you remember that?
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
over at Park City Club.
Yes, that's what it
My
was. I
next door
couldn't get the words
neighbor,
out.
his name is, I don't know if you know Ed Jones, Too Tall
He's
Jones,
actually
who
a
played for the
client.
Dallas Cowboys. He's my next door neighbor,
He's
and
a
he's
client.
just an amazing, amazing human. And he
Yes.
invited me to go attend as his guest. And Vision is this incredible organization that is in Farmers Branch, and they work with the blind and visually impaired to teach them work skills, and they actually create product that is sellable and sustainable. And they do a great job. And I was honored to be a part of it and to learn everything that they do.
Yeah, it was a great event. It was a great organization. It was interesting to learn that there was actually two main organizations in the country that helped the blind, and they joined forces. I guess Envision overtook. What was the other organization?
Right, the Lighthouse. I think it was the
Yes,
Lighthouse for the
yeah,
Blind, and then
so-
Envision. Envision is in Kansas, and then
Right.
and also in Farmers Branch.
Yeah. Well, that was a great thing. So tell me a little bit about your background. Are you originally from the Dallas area, Elizabeth?
I was actually born in East LA.
Wow, East Los.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was born in Los Angeles, California, and was raised here, first generation American. My parents were from Mexico, from Chihuahua, the state of Chihuahua. And born and raised here. So, I don't know if you can identify with that at all, but we are 100% American, but we also have deep roots, and we belong really to two worlds. And it's a good thing. That's one of my superpowers, I think.
You know what? I always lean into it myself. I've never ran away from that. I wear it as a shield of pride, and I've gotten to quite a bit scraps defending myself over it. But that's a whole nother podcast. Tell me a little bit about why you moved to Dallas. Your family just migrated here, or how y'all got from LA to Dallas?
No, actually, I was actually quite athletic in the 90s, and I was an avid scuba diver.
Wow.
And I was offered a job as an assistant to this gentleman that owned recompression chambers, and his main office was in Dallas. So I flew out here for the interview, and I came in the spring before it was hot, so I fell in love with Dallas. And they offered me the job, and I remember my dad saying, "Mija, you should go. If you don't like it, you come back. But you're always going to wonder what your life would have been if you had gone." And my mom said, "No te vayas, don't go." So I decided to come out. I came out, and the job did not work out well for me. But I ended up meeting my husband, who was actually my next door neighbor. And his family was the owner of Cuquitas. His mother was the owner of Cuquitas. And so I stayed here. We got married, and we have a daughter, and we made our life here.
So you moved here by yourself on your own.
I didn't know a single soul. I drove out in my full-size Ford Bronco with a roof rack and my gun and whatever I could fit in my car, and I rented an apartment. I thought they were so cheap. I thought, wow, why is everything so cheap here?
and I'm being Hispanic, I think I know the answer to this question, but how difficult was it for your parents to let you go?
My dad was really a visionary. My dad had another way of seeing the world, and he's the one that really encouraged me to come out. And he just said, if you don't like it, you just come back home. But if you don't go, you're always going to wonder what your life would have been. And he was so right.
Yeah.
And my mom had a really hard time. The Mexican mom, she had a really hard time. Like, ¿qué vas a hacer allá? What are you going to do over there? Like, you don't know anybody. And, what's going to happen? And here I am.
Yeah, and so you moved next door. So you happen to move next door to your husband, his family's in the restaurant business.
That's right.
And so did y'all date a long time?
We
or
did.
Did
A couple
he
years.
Start bringing you free food? Is that what won you
No,
over?
actually, I didn't know. I didn't know. So when I first moved here, I looked for the Mexican neighborhood and looking for the best Mexican food, and I quickly found out that I did not like Tex-Mex food. I hope I don't offend anybody.
Wow.
For me, Tex-Mex food is like somebody tried to make Mexican food and they didn't know how, and
Cut the
that's what
tape.
happened.
Cut the tape. We're stopping.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
So-
My hair's bristling right now.
in California, that is not a thing. So I
Yeah.
found the Mexican neighborhood. I found this really great restaurant. It didn't even have a sign in the front, and I would go almost every day because my things had not come from the movers. All I drove out with was what I had in my car, and so. Couple weeks before the movers brought all of my kitchen stuff and all of my things, and so one day I went on my way. I went to run errands and did my thing, paid the guy at the register and went on my way. And then when I got to my apartment, it was over on Cole Avenue before that area was really nice. And I said, "Oh wow, there's a cashier that works at that restaurant." And it ended up being my husband. That was my next door
What
neighbor.
a great
Oh.
story.
Yeah.
Fabulous story. And,
That is cool.
I want to we'll get back to your story, but real quick, for people that don't know, there is a significant difference in the type of Tex-Mex, which we traditionally eat, and what you guys are serving up, and we'll get into that. I just wanted to make that apparent because she was dogging Tex-Mex, but there's a reason. There was a significant reason. Okay, so that was another question I had, was how you ended up in the restaurant business, and you answered that with
Right.
with your husband. So did you What point did you start working there at the restaurant?
Immediately.
Oh, really?
Like,
You-
yeah.
okay.
Just immediately.
Okay, sure.
I was the very first hostess they ever had at the restaurant over on Henderson in East Dallas.
Yeah, tell us a little about the history, if you don't mind, of the Cuquitas
Sure,
restaurant.
absolutely. My mother-in-law was the owner of Cuquitas over on Henderson Avenue. She owned the 3 lots that were there, and that place was just always busy. If you were ever there on the weekends, she would close when the last customer left at
Yes.
4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. People would come from the clubs and have their menudo and have their, all of their huge meals. And so sometimes I'd actually be home and she'd call and say, tenemos mucha gente,
Yeah.
man, we're really busy. Come to the restaurant. And I would be the hostess at, 1 o'clock in the morning, and there'd be long, long lines of people waiting to get in.
Yeah.
So it was-
you probably wore a whole bunch of hats. You did a little bit of everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when did they expand? Now they have 3 restaurants.
Well,
correct?
that restaurant belonged to my mother-in-law.
Okay.
And then 25 years ago, my husband and I opened the restaurant over at Spring Valley and Coit.
Okay.
And
They're in
then-
Farmers Branch.
No, Spring
No?
Valley and Coit is in Dallas, actually.
Spring Valley.
Just across the street is Richardson, but we're
Okay.
actually in Dallas.
Okay.
And then we opened the second restaurant 20 years ago in Farmers Branch at Josie and Valley View. And then we opened a third location, my husband and I, 15 years ago in Garland at Northwest Highway and 635.
Okay. Awesome.
So we keep ourselves busy.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about you. You guys are in Dallas. You growing up here in Dallas, or I guess you were going through your formative years almost. How old were you when you moved here?
I was an adult.
You were already
I
adult?
was already
Okay.
an adult.
You are-
Yeah.
But how old? Like 20?
Yeah, my 20s, late
okay.
20s,
So you
I
still,
think.
You still were developing. What was Dallas like to you then? I mean, coming from LA, what was the significant difference that you saw?
It was really different. I remember driving on the 75, and
Yeah.
people would drive like 35 miles an hour, and I was like, "Isn't this a freeway?"
Yeah.
There weren't really any Spanish radio stations. I think maybe there was like 1 or 2 Spanish radio stations. I did notice a lot of sort of cultural differences, but I liked it. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah.
There was a lot to do, and I adapted really well to living in the Dallas area.
And how would you say, and you've been here now quite some time, what would you say significant changes you've seen in that time since you moved here?
I think the growth, there's more diversity, a huge growth, just everywhere. Frisco, I mean, the tollway didn't even go up, to Plano, I don't think. I remember seeing farmland and cows and hay and all that kind of thing. And now you drive past Frisco and all of that is gone now. It's just grown so much.
Yeah. What about the attitudes of the people here? I mean, has Dallas? It seems to me, and I just want to see if you think the same way, that Dallas almost was like a large small town 30, 40 years ago.
I would agree with that.
And now it's become more urban, if you will, where it's more of a metroplex, more of a city.
Yeah,
a
Dallas
large
has
city.
definitely
Yeah, so I
put
feel
its
the
cl-
attitude
yeah.
shifted in people.
Absolutely. Dallas has
you feel
definitely
that?
put itself on the map now. I think we have more restaurants per capita than even New York.
Yeah.
We've got some great restaurants, like Michelin is here now, and I'm sure that a lot of companies that have come from other states, including California, have probably made a difference in terms of those kinds of things, making it more of an international city. Dallas is definitely on the map. I mean, it's definitely on there. We have our own stock exchange now in the Dallas area. So definitely, when you talk LA, New York, Dallas is right there.
up there.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned great restaurants, which you have 3 of them. Tell us real quick, because she was dogging out Tex-Mex. So I want to make sure we give her the opportunity to defend that. Tell us real quick the difference in the type of food y'all serve at Cuquitas versus the traditional Tex-Mex.
Absolutely. So in Mexico, if you ever went to Mexico and asked for yellow cheese, they would look at you like you're crazy. Like, that does not exist in Mexico. Yellow cheese. And when you ask for like a queso flameado, like the queso, it's typically will be a Monterey Jack cheese that's melted, that's thick. It's just kind of
Right,
thick,
like
not like the yellow
Like a
cheese.
mozzarella almost.
Jack cheese for the most part, Monterey Jack. And also just sort of the flavors in the food. In the traditional Mexican, our food is from northern Mexico. Even in parts of Mexico, there's different kinds of foods. Southern Mexico uses black beans and they use a lot of epazote, different kinds of herbs. Northern Mexico, especially in Monterrey, the dishes are prepared in a different way. As an example, cumin is used in authentic Mexican food, but very sparsely. You use this much cumin to add flavor to a meal. And then Tex-Mex tradition, cumin is like, pack it on. Like, let's
Right.
put some more cumin on the plate. So those are just some things that are just a little bit different.
Okay, so is there more seafood involved in your type? Or
Not necessarily like in Monterrey,
No.
the northern part
Right.
of Mexico. There's not an ocean, so we personally do not serve seafood. But I certainly enjoy having that.
Okay, well that was the reason
Yeah.
she was talking about Tex-Mex, because
Yeah.
she serves food which is equally
Authentic.
or authentic Mexican food.
It's like
I
something
get-
like our my
Yes,
grandmother
I
would
totally
make.
get that. I
Absolutely.
mean, there's variations of pizza, so why wouldn't there be variations of?
Absolutely.
So I get that too.
Right.
So
go
I have a
ahead.
question. It sounds like you love Dallas and you immediately and quickly adapted to it, and you met your next door neighbor who became your husband,
Right.
etc. But was there or has there been a point where you missed California enough to consider going back?
I do miss California in terms of the weather, and in terms of the locality. Like, you can be anywhere. If you're in LA, you can be anywhere in an hour. You can be in the desert in Palm Springs. You can be at the beach. You can be in the mountains. You can be in the snow. Like, you can be anywhere in an hour, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot
luxury.
You cannot compare that
Right.
to
No.
But Dallas has also a lot its own beauty and its own advantages, and so you have to sort of balance out.
Yeah, plus-
This is a great place to raise a family, a great place to have children. It's believe it or not, it's still slower than LA, even though people in Dallas probably think everything is moving really fast. Even just driving up here to Denton, I was kind of chuckling to myself because most people here in this area, if they have to drive more than 10 minutes, they're like, oh, it's so far.
Yeah.
And in LA, everything is a
Spoiled.
minimal 45-minute drive. Minimum.
Uh-huh.
Just even to go to the grocery store, it's 45 minutes.
See, I drive everywhere. I live in Addison,
Yeah.
and I have friends who live north. I have friends who live south, but I have different friends that not all my friends,
Right.
but some are like that. Look, I'm not. If they live south of 635,
Right.
look, I don't go north of 635.
Right.
If they live north of 635, look, I don't go south
Right,
of 635.
right.
And meanwhile, I will go. I'm filling up my gas tank all the time.
Right.
So, Ben, I was kind of laughing to myself when you said, in an hour you can be anywhere. Because I think in Dallas, in an hour, it takes me an hour sometimes to get from Addison to Lakewood.
Right.
But I also understand what you're saying. I've never lived in California, but I understand what you're saying. You can be in the mountains, you can be here, you can be there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that is something that you miss. But it just sounds like you've had a lot of adventures here since you moved here.
I really have. It's been just I've just met so many nice families, so many great people. We live in the best city in all of North Texas. We live in a secret city, honestly. Farmers
Yeah,
Branch
I
is
wanna
the
talk-
best city in all of
I
North
want to
Texas.
talk about that. What prompted your move to Farmers Branch from Dallas? After you have the three restaurants,
Yes.
you're married. I'm assuming you have family. You're growing your family. What prompted you guys from moving from Dallas to Farmers Branch?
So my daughter at that time was 5 years old, and we lived in North Dallas at Frankfurt on the Tollway. And I was reading the newspaper one day, minding my own business, and I read an article that talked about the councilman in Farmers Branch who was trying to get rid of all of the Hispanics in the city, and it was their fault. Every problem in the city was the fault of the Hispanics. And I remember calling my husband and saying, "Can you believe this guy?" My daughter and I, Natalie and I, we're going down to City Hall. There was going to be a council meeting. We're going to go down there and show our solidarity with all of the outraged people that are going to be there. So we went to Michael's, we made this big sign, and we show up, and there was nobody there. And so just by default, I ended up being on all of the media channels, all of the newspaper, but not because I was a community leader, because there was nobody else there to interview.
So at the time, you weren't even living in Farmers
We
Branch?
were living in North Dallas, but we already had our restaurant in
Right.
Farmers
So
Branch.
it did affect you. These issues did affect
Absolutely.
you. So
Absolutely.
okay. Well,
And so I showed up, and just by default, I ended up being on all. And my heart knew what the right thing was. My heart knew what was correct, but I didn't have the language. I wasn't an attorney. I wasn't a community active. I wasn't any of that. And I wanted to share with you, a few months before that, I had been in Israel with my daughter. And I am a devout Catholic, but I'm not like the kind of Catholics where, like, like the Blessed Mother appears in clouds or anything. Although I'm not disputing that that can
I
happen.
think she appears in tortillas.
I mean, I'm not disputing that that can happen, but I'm sort of a very
Yes.
pragmatic
Yes.
Catholic. And I remember so clearly being at the Western Wall. I don't know if you've ever been to Israel. If you haven't, you have to put it on your bucket list. And I remember being at the Western Wall, which is the last wall that exists during the times of Jesus. And the tradition is that you go in and you put a little prayer in the crevices in the wall. And I went and I remember as if it were last week, I just remember putting my prayer in and saying, "Dear Lord, please use my hands and use my feet and use my mouth." And I put my little prayer in the crevice and that was it. And then a few months later, all hell broke loose in Farmers Branch
Yeah.
with the councilman that wanted to get rid of all the Hispanics. And so I became sort of the accidental activist. No, not sort of. I am the accidental activist.
Well-
And here we are.
Well, I don't think I don't think it's an accident that
Yeah.
you had made that trip to Israel and then you ended up there. But I'm going to stop you right there, and I do want to get back into it because we need to get a word in from our sponsor so we can write this off, Lila. Okay.
Okay.
We'll be right back with Mrs. Elizabeth Villafranca, candidate for City Council at Farmers Branch. You're listening to Beyond the Policy, covering everything Dallas.
In Texas, the road is part of who we are. From Dallas traffic to Hill Country back roads, you need coverage that keeps up. At Northwest Insurance Agency, we're proud to serve Texans with the best home, auto, and business insurance paired with honest rates, real protection, and local agents who understand life around here. Call us for a quote at 1-855-887-5656 or visit us at nwagencies.com.
Okay, we are back on Beyond the Policy, covering everything Dallas with Mark and Lila. Lila, we were talking to our guest, Mrs. Elizabeth Villafranca. She was telling us about how she went to Israel, and then when she got back from Israel, by divine intervention, God brought her to a Farmers Branch City Council meeting. So I'm going to go back to Elizabeth. Do you mind telling us that a little bit more about that? So you went to Israel, and you had ended up at a Farmers Branch City Council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what prompted you to come back to the next meeting after you saw that no one was there.
Well, I just really thought that it was really important that somebody speak up for the voiceless. You know, there are so many people that have no voice, that live in the shadows, and yet we all know that they're there. We all use them as our nannies. We all use them as our, landscapers. We all use them, and we all look the other way and pretend that, they have dignity. We all have dignity. And so I could not turn my back on our people. Like, I just felt really strongly about that.
That's very admirable. No, I totally get that. So this happened in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is your first foray into city council. What have you been doing in that time, to lead you to believe that I'm ready for the city council?
So I've been doing what I've always been doing. I've always served in our community, church community, civil community, working with people, and I'm super well connected with all walks of life. I'm very well connected with local nonprofits. I'm very well connected with very affluent people, and I'm very well connected with my people, with mi gente, And so I'm able to be a very good connector. And so what I see that there is a need, and I'm able to fill it. Presently, I'm the president of the Carrollton Farmers Branch Rotary Club, and we are a nonprofit, non-political, a nonpartisan organization that basically serves the community and serves the world. I was recently in Honduras and Cozumel, and we delivered pallets and pallets of books, wheelchairs, shoes, and there are just needs everywhere. And if we just, we may not be able to save the world, but all of us can do something.
Yes.
All of us can do, can make some difference. Even in our community now, we just donated $40,000 to the city of Farmers Branch for a merry-go-round, a we-go-round that is for handicapped children. And so even children in wheelchairs can go in. You remember the one where you
Yes.
spin around and you
Yes.
throw up? Well, even they can go in there and throw up now if they want to. And we can have children now. They strap them in and they're able to play with the other children, which is a wonderful thing. And, these things may not seem like they matter, but they really do matter. They really do make a difference.
They do make a difference, and I don't think people truly understand that there are people like Elizabeth that are working in the backgrounds that make these things happen. I think people just assume they just pop up. Things like this merry-go-round just pop up, and no, that takes effort to fundraise for that, to get the city to agree to put it in,
Right.
and to actually implement it, getting in. I had a fire hydrant in my front yard, Lila. It took a year and a half for them to fix it. So that she was able to put a merry-go-round up really phenomenal. Speaks volumes on the type of tenacity you have. So,
Yes,
so
right.
you moved to you in 2009. You had this issue with immigration, which it brought you into the civic duty. Tell me about what are some of the issues now that's important to you in Farmers Branch that made you I want to run, made you decide I want to run for city council.
So Farmers Branch is the best city in the entire Metroplex in all of North Texas. It's a secret city that I just love. So centrally located. We have the tollway, 635, 35. It's just a great, great city. We're right next to the airport. We're 12 square miles. We have more than 30 parks in our city. Great amenities. It's just a great, great city. But I think that it's important to continue to make it the best city that it can be, but also to be more inclusive and accept more diversity and be able to work with all kinds of people. And I think that is something really important that I bring to the table. Being from two different cultures, I'm able to, to speak to and get along with pretty much everybody.
You've mentioned diversity a couple of times and inclusivity. Has there been resistance that you've seen on your part from the city of Farmers Branch or from its leaders to have some of that inclusivity or to offer some of that inclusivity?
In 2009, certainly, that was
Yeah.
when we moved into the city, when they said
Right.
they wanted all of the Hispanics to move out. They wanted you to have to prove your citizenship to be able to live in the city. I mean, it was absurd. It was almost, it was actually a test city of what is going on right now. They were testing small cities to see what would stick and see how much and what they would get away with.
Right.
And this is kind of the climate that we're in right now. 53% of the city is Hispanic. And I think that the current city government, and I think that the current city government and staff, I think that they're doing their best and they're doing a good job of being inclusive. And we just recently had an event, a Gateway to the Globe, a multicultural a day that we had a few weeks ago. We did it for the very first time last year, and I was honored enough to be the chair of that last year, and we actually won a big award for that. And it was just different cultures from every part of the world. We have entertainment and performances and different foods from different cultures. And I think those are the kinds of things that we need to continue to do, because I think once people realize how much we are alike, I think that it really makes a difference. Back in the days of 2009, I think that there were actually some people that had never even really met a Hispanic, and so once they meet us, they're like, oh, they're just like us.
Yeah.
So it seems funny, but it's true.
It actually is true, and I think a lot of times if you remove the portrayal that others give to other groups, not only Hispanics but other groups, and I think we let the media drive that, and that's a shame because it doesn't allow people to get to really know each other.
Right.
So in 2009, you show up, no one's there. Have you seen more engagement from the community, specifically the Hispanic community, since you've gotten involved? Have you been able to play Pied Piper and bring more people in?
I believe we do have a lot more engagement now, and I think people, especially now that I've been knocking on doors and doing block walking for my campaign, I do see that there are a lot more people that are engaged. And when I go out and knock at doors, not just in the Hispanic community, but just in general, when I go out and I talk to them about their concerns, about their needs, about things that are going on, and things that maybe no one has really heard them, I'm really impressed, and I'm happy to see that people are more engaged.
Yeah. And you said, you've also brought up several times how you feel you can unite, and I feel that right now we are so divided. I mean, and you can't even, there's not even a black or white anymore. It's just there's no right or wrong. It's just people have their own opinions, and that's it. What specifically can you do, or are you planning on doing, to unite? Because it sounds to me like there's an old guard maybe in Farmers Branch and maybe a new guard. What do you plan to do to unite those two factions?
So I can tell you that at this time, I am the only one that's on speaking terms with the mayor and on speaking terms with everyone on the council, which cannot be said about everyone there. There is a high level of division just within the council and mayor. I have a great working relationship with all of the city staff. I was actually a city employee for many years when I lived in California, and so I'm one of them. I feel very connected to them, and I think that I'm just generally a good bridge builder. There's a priest from California. I don't know if you've ever heard of Homeboy Industries. His name is Greg Boyle, and he wrote a book. He's written several books, but one of the most recent book talks about Something so simple but so profound. There is no us and them. There is only us. And the more that we, are committed to seeing that, the more that we will be able to understand that. There are powers that be that work to divide us, to make us feel as if there is an us and them, so that, we can do their bidding, so to speak. Because if we're down here bickering, they're out there doing what they want to do, and making us feel that we're the ones that, causing all of this division. So I think the more that we're present, the more that we show up, the more that we're there, I think that really is a huge, huge difference in the community.
Oh, for sure. I totally agree with you. I think that people are divided because people tell us to be divided.
That's right.
And it speaks to a bigger picture of what's going on in today's society. I do want to talk about your specific district. So your district is 4, is it?
District 4,
okay.
yes.
Tell me a little bit. You said Farmers Branch is 12 square miles. How big is District 4?
It's not that big. So if you know the community at all, which I think you do, Lila. So basically, it's Josie and Valley View,
Okay.
all the way south to 635, and then all the way east to the tollway. So in my district, there are a lot of single family homes, but there are also a lot of apartments over on the east side, over by the tollway, and a lot of commercial area. So 70% of our tax base comes from commercial businesses, comes from business. So 70% of our taxes are paid by businesses, which is not a luxury that other cities really can afford, can brag about.
70% of all the taxes is paid by business.
That's right.
Which that affects you, I guess, in your restaurant.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so we have to take care of our businesses.
Right.
We need to bring more businesses in,
Right.
and that will, raise our tax base as well.
And when you say bringing you more businesses, how do you do that? It being limited in space, is there availability? Are you talking about redevelopment or?
There is a lot of availability in my part of town, and District 4. There are a lot of older warehouses, and there's just a lot of space. On the west side of town, they've just started building. That was empty for decades. They just started building new homes and apartments, and so there's a lot of growth right now in Farmers Branch. It's really the best secret city in all of North Texas.
And is there currently an incumbent, or are you running for re-election?
No, this current councilman decided not to run for re-election, and that was when I made the decision to go ahead and run. I thought it would just be a great opportunity and a great time to run. And my opponent, actually, we don't really know that much about her. She doesn't show up to anything. We had a candidate debate. She didn't show up. We had some meet and greets through the Metroplex chamber. She didn't show up. So we don't know much about her, except that she is the current mayor's campaign treasurer.
Okay.
So a rubber stamp.
Okay.
We don't need another rubber stamp.
And she's never been, other than working for the mayor's office, she's never run for office as far as you know?
No, not to
Okay.
my knowledge, yeah.
And nor has she been in any kind of civic duties?
We don't really know much about her. She doesn't show up for anything. So I mean, when you're running for office,
So
people
you're
want to
running
know
against a
you.
ghost,
You
pretty
got to
much.
carry babies, shake hands,
Yeah.
be out there, answer questions.
What are some of the issues? You probably knock on a lot of doors.
Yes.
You've meet a lot of people. What are the residents of Farmers Branch telling you that they want you to do?
Right. I sort of pride myself on being the unsexy candidate, because I'm concerned
No, that's
about
not
things
true.
that are.
First of all, you own a restaurant. You're sexy, no matter what.
Well, I'm concerned about things that that affect our day-to-day life. If you're driving through that same pothole 10 times a day and it's not getting fixed, that starts to wear on you. Like, those little things really start to wear on you. So I'm really concerned about those things. They started building sort of it was supposed to be sort of an exclusive senior living facility right next to the hospital, right off of 635, off of the service road. And apparently the company went bankrupt. It's just a terrible eyesore. The city pumped $2 million into the infrastructure, which now there's a lien on it, but when are we going to ever get that money back? But what worries me is there's this giant crane sticking out, and we have residences, single-family homes that are right next to that. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, that's a potential insurance issue waiting to happen now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years ago, this giant crane fell over in Dallas because of the high winds. Imagine, God forbid, that crane fall on one of those homes. And nobody really seems to be doing anything about it. So this is a high priority for me.
Yes. I understand.
Just simple things like that. We have a community garden. They wanted to nix it last year. We're spending $13,000 on a community garden, and they're trying to cut costs. But, I am a fiscally conservative person, But we need to cut fat, not programs that we need for our community. That community garden builds community. The produce that they grow is donated to local nonprofits, so we're helping to feed, low income families. I mean, it's just for $13,000. It just didn't really make sense. We have great police, great fire. Our police does a great job of keeping the unhoused population at bay. The unhoused population knows that they don't mess with Farmers Branch. But at the entrance to our city, Josie Lane, Webb Chapel, Alpha Road, there are a huge homeless population that tend to gather under the bridges, and they make their homes there. And so I've reached out to our city officials, our mayor and our city councilmen, and I've said, listen, like, this is the entrance to our city. And they just tell me to reach out to the Office of Homeless Solutions. I reach out, take pictures, do the whole thing. And they come, they clear them out, and then they come back the next day with more stuff. Like, that is not the solution. So I'm really well connected to local nonprofits, and I know that this is a high priority for me, even though they're not in Farmers Branch, but they're affecting Farmers Branch because it's the entrance to our city.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
everything you've done for the past, 14, 15 years is incredible. And I want to get a little bit more into that. We do have to take a quick break, though, and get a word in from our sponsor, Lila. Remember, tax fans always watching. We'll be right back with Mrs. Elizabeth Villafranca on Beyond the Policy, covering everything Dallas.
Running a business is unpredictable, but with the right insurance, you can face the unexpected with confidence. At Northwest Insurance Agency, we protect what matters most: your people, your property, and your future. Whether it's liability, property, or workers' comp, we tailor coverage to fit your business needs, because when you're covered, you can focus on what really matters: growing your business. Call us today for a free quote at 1-855-887-5656 or visit us at nwagencies.com. Northwest Insurance Agency, protection that works as hard as you do.
Okay, we are back with Mrs. Elizabeth Villafranca on Beyond the Policy, covering everything Dallas with Mark and Lila. We were talking to you, Elizabeth, about your run for city council and some of the important issues. I want to get into one of the big hot issues because it affects, I'm sure it affects your business. I know it affects my business deeply. I want to talk about this narrative, how it's an us against them narrative being thrown out there, perspective. Right now, immigration is a hot issue. Immigration is the reason you jumped into politics in the first place. People have their own opinion about it, and it seems like there's no give or take in that opinion. My question to you is, there has to be a solution. I believe there's a solution to every problem. What are some of the solutions you think we can do to tear that divide down and make people see that we are really just United States of America, like we used to be at one point?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am still the compassionate conservative that I've always been. I am still the fiscal conservative that I've always been. We need comprehensive immigration reform. Not everybody deserves to live in this country, and I will be the first one to say that. Not everybody deserves to be American. It's a privilege to be an American, and we need to really take care of that. But we need comprehensive immigration reform. There are people that have been living here for decades, contributing to our society, contributing to our country, helping us to enrich it in the way that it has now. Even the current president has backtracked on some of the things that he had said, because I think that they realize that if they decide to deport 11 million undocumented people, our economy will collapse, because all of those people are paying taxes, whether they pay rent, whether they're homeowners, whether they buy groceries. They are paying the same amount of taxes that everybody else is paying. They are paying taxes, and we need that. We need those laborers. We need those people that are out there doing the jobs that probably a lot of us would be unwilling to do.
That's a great answer, and it's very surprising to hear that, because a lot of times, again, another pigeonhole that Hispanic people get pushed into is that they're, ultra liberal. There's only one school of thought, and I like that you actually said that maybe we should have some reform. So,
Sure.
What can we do in dialogue, though? How can we reach out to people that just think the exact opposite of we do? Because I think that's the problem. I think we can't even discuss anything anymore. It used to be we didn't discuss religion or politics. Now, that's all we discuss. And
Right. I think that we really need to get to a place where we're able to have dialogue and speak as adults and respect each other. I may not always agree with what you or you may say, but I will always respect you. And I think that has has been lost in many ways, but I think that it's important. And I think it's important also to show up, to be there. Like, our voice is our vote.
Right.
And we can sit around the dining room table and complain all day long about things, but if we do not go out and make a conscious effort to go out and vote, nothing is going to change. And if our vote didn't matter, they would not be trying so hard to take it away. Our vote does matter.
Speaking of vote, tell us a little bit about when the election is, where you can vote if you're in District 4,
Yes.
and a little bit more. Are there any other elections going on or any other initiatives in Farmers Branch that maybe people need to be aware of?
Well, we have early voting starts next Tuesday, April 22nd through 29th at the library, and then election day is on May the 3rd. In Farmers Branch, we have an election for District 1 and for District 4, which is what I'm running for, and the Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District is also electing there's 3 spots available for school board.
Okay.
And all of these things really, really matter. We get so focused on voting in the presidential election, which is important, but the things that affect our day-to-day life are local politics, and we must go out and vote, and we must go out and tell our friends and talk about it. There's an organization, a PAC that just started in Farmers Branch. It's called Branch Vision, and they are actually meeting regularly, like monthly, and they put together these great events. I'll invite you to come. We just had someone come on Friday, and they came and they spoke about the solution, the correct solution to homelessness. And it was thoughtful. It was smart. They were correcting misinformation that is out there. And so the more informed we are and the more we learn, the better off we are.
Typically, what type of percentage of voters show up in a city election like that?
I believe that my election will be decided by 500 people,
500
which is
people.
shameful.
Really?
It's shameful.
500?
Yeah, and even though you're the one out there doing all the work, is your opponent out there beating the doors like? No
Nobody
idea?
sees her. Like, nobody sees her.
Okay.
We don't know. Like,
Well,
we don't know.
Listen, I wish you all the luck in the world with the election, and I think you've shown us today what people can do when they really want to help out. But I don't want to end it on a political note. I want to bring it back to what you're known for, which is the restaurant business.
Yeah,
initially.
I have some questions because
Sure.
I have a heavy restaurant background. I was a catering director for a restaurant that has 5 locations here in town. So I could talk about restaurants all day long. I could also talk about politics all day long.
I think Lila can talk about anything. All the
Pretty
time.
much.
I get
Pretty
that
much.
impression. I get that idea.
The
Yeah.
Yes.
coffee is the trick. You got to keep it away from her.
Exactly. But tell me, with being a part of Kukita since to meeting your boyfriend and who became your husband, what
Be
is
clear there. There's not a boyfriend and a husband.
No. There's one. It's the
Okay.
same one. Yeah. I can barely manage the one I have. Yeah.
Don't start rumors. Political season.
I know. Be careful. I got to make sure I word it correctly. But I love everything about a restaurant. It's exciting. It's dynamic. It's crazy. I mean, if you stay in the restaurant business, really for more than 6 months, whether you're a server or a hostess or what have you, I mean, you're a little loopy in the head because it is not for the weak. So, what's your favorite part of being a restaurateur, and then what's your least favorite part?
I just love people, honestly. I love speaking to people from all walks of life. I love listening to people's stories. That is what I really, really love the most, is spending time with people, talking to them. It just brings me joy, to hear people's stories, like people's life stories. What I like least, I think, is, that's a hard question to answer. I'm the one that always sees like the good in everything. So if you make me count like beans, like I'll turn it into a game. So I always turn everything that I do. I always turn everything into fun. So I think maybe the least is maybe when somebody comes in and they're hangry, and people get crazy when they're hangry.
They
But
do.
Also, the other side of that coin, trying to mix the political thing. Have you seen that foods probably unites cultures, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One thing and I like that you said that. When I was a catering director, I was a catering director for 5.5 years. And one of my favorite things about being a catering director was that if I was catering lunch, we were mainly breakfast lunch. If I was catering lunch for 10 people or for 250 people or 1,000 people, that I always would circle back within 24 hours and say, Hey, Mark, thank you. Thank you for that catering job. How was everything? Was everything good? I really hope your staff enjoyed it. And I mean, most of the time, it's not going to be 100%, but honestly, we had an amazing track record. And most of the time, the response back was everyone loved it. It was so good. It was great. We had this meeting, or it was a employee appreciation lunch, in this employee appreciation week or what have you. And as I would get those responses back, I would think to myself, when you're at work and you're in the trenches, and work is hard. Work, as my brother once said, work is called work for a reason. It's not called, fun. And so you're at work and you're coming in.
Remember that when you're
I will, for sure. But you're in the trenches. It's difficult. You're talking to customers or coworkers who are not always happy, and that you can go have that 1 hour or half hour, whatever it is, where you go eat, and you have the chicken fried steak that reminds you of when your dad used to make it, or you have the meatloaf of when your mom used to make it, and you loved the carrots and mashed potatoes, and boy, that pie, it was so good. And that 1 hour, you could feel so great. You could be so happy for your day. I always liked it also when they would say, we all ate so much that we had to take a nap afterwards, so we weren't real productive.
Yeah.
So I would always laugh at that. But it always made me feel so good that I could make a group of people with what my amazing staff in the kitchen was doing, because I was very proud of the kitchen staff I worked with, that we could go make 10 or 150 people or 1,000 people really happy. And I bet just here talking to you and seeing what makes you happy and what drives you, I bet that made you happy also. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I can see that commonality.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, I see some people eating at the restaurant. I'll actually go to their table and say, there's some people that just eat. And there are some people, it's like this, experience.
Yes.
And you see them, taking a bite. And you just see, it's like this joy. And I just say, man, I want what he's having. Like, I want to eat what they're having.
So it's not just me. Huh?
Yeah, I never get sick of eating at our restaurant. Like, there's always something different.
Look, Elizabeth, I never get sick of eating. Okay, so I'm right there with you.
Well, some people in the restaurant business, they're like, I don't want to eat another. I never get tired of eating our food.
So sick of looking at my insurance policy.
Well, that's another
Look
story.
at Mark trying to come
When
in.
I get
That's
home,
another
I will
story.
not pull it out and look at it. I've had it with looking at it. Did the city of Farmers Branch, are they accommodating doing business? Is that a good business city now, or is that something you need to improve on?
I think that they are working on it.
Yeah.
Right now, they're working on a program called. It's going to be like a passport program, and we actually had some little keychains and some little Mexican bags made. And different restaurants are going to have sort of a little giveaway with when you purchase, and there's going to be a passport. And so they're trying to bring in. They're working really hard to bring in new business and to make it more alive. I think the Four Corners is. I think all of us had the hope that the Four Corners would be more lively, but I think that that's something that they're working on now.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Beyond, and I wish you all the luck, and I know you will win because you put in the work and you deserve to. Beyond City Council of Farmers Branch, do you have any other aspirations? I mean, is that something you've thought about? I mean, you have the tenacity. You have the verbiage. I mean, you assume you can. I think the biggest issue that any candidate has is being able to mix in different types of cultures, societies. You definitely have that. I'm asking you, will you please? Is there anything else you would have run for if you thought about it?
I have thought about it in the past, and I think I'm taking everything just one step at a time. I want to make sure that I'm elected to the council and be able to serve as best as I can serve. Like sometimes we're looking so far ahead that we're not in the present, and we're not really being about what we need to be about.
Right.
So I want to be able to be on the council and serve our city, serve our residents in the best way that I can. And then, in the future, I'm certainly open to doing other things. Absolutely.
I think the future will bring that upon you. I think so. I think you have a bright future. There are 5 questions that we ask all of our guests.
Okay.
And so we're going to put you through the insurance ringer. Is that what we're going to
call
it?
That's what you're calling it. Yeah.
I will try this. Let's cover this, okay? How does that work? Try that one. Okay, you go first.
Actually,
Lila.
that's really good.
You ask her first.
All right. Well, this is easy.
Yes, you
This
better
is
know that. You
su-
better know the answer to this
I
one.
mean-
You're out of the studio if you do not know the answer to this one.
Yes. What is your favorite? Well, I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, ask her. Ask her.
Should I? Okay.
Yeah, ask
What's
her.
your favorite Tex-Mex
Tex-Mex
restaurant?
We know you're not a fan too much of Tex-Mex, but if you had to choose.
I don't know. I don't really know any Tex-Mex restaurants. I'm sorry.
Okay, then
Okay,
what's your favorite?
Dish.
favorite
Yeah. You have a
Mex-
dish,
yeah.
Tex-Mex
Oh.
dish that you hate the least? Or we put it
That
that
you
way.
hate the least?
Like I like the queso. I like the yellow queso. I enjoy
Okay.
having that.
Uh-huh.
And
We're putting her on the spot.
yeah,
putting her
I
down.
really
Yeah,
don't know a
Tex-Mex.
lot of
And her-
Tex-Mex.
I don't even think she's aware that there's a Tex-Mex industry out there.
Oh, I know there is. I know there is. I do like the queso. I do like some of this, some of the nachos and some of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
The other day, I was craving queso with ground beef in it
Oh, yeah.
and guacamole and sour cream
Uh-huh.
in it. The very first place I had it was El Arroyo.
I want to ask, what's your favorite dish at your restaurant?
Yes.
So I love the chiles rellenos. We
Tell
make
us,
them by
yes,
hand
yes.
right at that moment with a poblano chili.
Uh-huh.
We toast the chilies. Everything is made from scratch, and you can. I like the mix though. I like it with ground beef and with cheese, and then they have it with the egg with a battered egg around it. It's really good.
And when you get it, is it traditional when you sit at your restaurant? Do you get the chips and salsa like you do?
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
I know that's important to a lot of
Yeah.
people, and I think
Yeah.
once they go there, they'll be introduced to a whole
yeah.
different type of cuisine.
I love
That'd be
the
awesome.
chicken enchiladas with
Yes.
green sauce. I love the barbacoa on the
Yes.
weekends. Like
And
I never get
know they have
tired
the-
of eating
they
in our
have the
restaurant.
best corn tortillas.
The
in
corn
world.
tortillas are handmade, which
Yes.
most restaurants do not make handmade tortillas, and our tortillas are handmade. Yeah.
Okay, here's one a little easier. We won't put you on
All
the spot.
right,
What
all
about
right.
barbecue? What's your favorite barbecue
Oh
spot
my
in
gosh,
DFW?
that's a great question.
Yes.
In DFW.
DFW, yes.
So there's
Dallas.
one here in Farmers Branch, and
Okay.
it's called Crossbucks, I think it's called, over on Spring Valley Road. They
Yes,
have great barbecue.
yes.
And then, of course, Marshall's. Marshall's over on Valley View and Josie. They always do a good job
Marshall's
as well.
is great.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Marshall's is really good.
I've been curious about Crossbucks. I drove down that.
It's
I
really
drove
good.
down there just like 3 days ago, and I thought I need to go there.
It's really, really good.
And what do you typically get? What's your go-to dish when you get barbecue?
I love the ribs. Like I just make a
yeah.
mess everywhere.
Big beef
Yeah.
rib or just this small little?
I like the
sticky
pork
ones?
ribs, but I eat them with my hands.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I love the ribs.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Wait a minute, still on the food.
All right.
Because I have a question. At Cuquitas, do y'all have chimichangas?
We don't. That is not Mexican.
Oh, it's not.
No, that's Tex-Mex
Lila.
food.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes.
See, I know. I needed to know.
There you go.
I needed
See?
to know.
So if you
Passover,
ever-
that's like asking at Passover, are you going to eat pizza this week, Lila?
So if you ever went to Mexico and asked for a chimichanga, like they would look at you like you're speaking in another
Really?
language.
Yeah.
Nobody would have
Wow.
any idea what you're
Okay,
even asking for.
that's good to know.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I've learned a lot today.
I have to tell you, there is one author. She passed away recently. She was actually a British woman. Her name was Diana Kennedy. And I used to read her books at night like a novel. And she went to Mexico, fell in love with Mexico, moved there, recorded recipes. And she would say, this recipe is from Doña Maria, from Rancho, blah, blah, blah. And she would document all these people's recipes. Her recipes are legit.
Really?
I love
Diana
Diana
Kennedy.
I think
Yeah.
people,
Okay.
I think if people get introduced to the type of food you're serving, they might
Yeah.
not go back.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal, I'm
Yeah.
telling you. Okay, here's something that's really important in Dallas
Okay.
history. Do you, in your opinion, was the JFK assassination done by a lone gunman, or was a conspiracy involved?
Oh my gosh. I don't know, but we all love a good conspiracy story, don't we?
We do. And
I don't know. Like they said they were releasing all of the files, and I don't think that there's any answer yet.
Not yet. You
I
wait for
don't
the evidence
know.
to
I
come
mean,
in.
I like to think that maybe it was a conspiracy because
Yeah.
it was just too weird, you know?
Too many. That's
Yeah.
what I think. We had a guest on. Our guest last week almost convinced me that it wasn't a conspiracy,
Yeah.
but it depends on what day you ask me.
Yeah,
Whatever the
I mean,
wind's
some
blowing.
people even
Yeah.
say LBJ was in on it. I mean, I don't know about any of that stuff.
I've heard LBJ did it.
Oh.
Okay, Lila, you got number one. The next one.
Tell us who you think the best Dallas Cowboys coach was
Oh my gosh,
Of all time.
of all time.
Roger Staubach, wasn't he a coach?
No, he was
No.
a player.
Oh.
He was a player.
Usually people choose between Tom Landry, who was the longtime coach, or Jimmy Johnson, who won the Super Bowls in the 90s.
Oh, I
That's
feel
usually the
terrible. Like
choices.
I'm not really like a sports person.
No, okay.
I only know Too Tall Jones because he's my next door neighbor.
Shout out to, because Tom Landry Coach Too Tall Jones, we're going to go with Tom.
There you go,
Landry.
Tom
Okay.
Landry.
Okay,
There
Tom
you go.
Landry.
Okay. And this is the last one. In your opinion,
These are hard questions.
having lived in Dallas and now Farmers Branch,
Uh-huh.
if you had to choose one person that represents Dallas, who would that person be? Someone asked you, Elizabeth,
Yeah.
who is Dallas?
Oh my gosh, these
that
are
a good
difficult questions.
I know.
It's amazing what ChatGPT can do these days.
You didn't give me enough time. Who represents Dallas in modern times?
Anytime, whatever.
Anytime.
Yeah,
Anytime.
just whatever you think Dallas.
When you
is.
think of Dallas, who?
Right. Well, I mean, everybody thinks of JR, right? Like
That's the second person.
everybody
We're
thinks
two
of
for
JR.
two.
Yeah.
We are 2 for 2. Look at that. You set the bell off.
Oh my God!
You did.
There you
Right,
go.
you got
I
the
won.
right
You
I
set
did.
the
I
bell
won.
off.
I think I won a
Answer.
prize.
You're going straight to the finals.
That's wild.
That is crazy.
But that
Two
you're our
people,
second
yeah.
guest.
Everybody
and
thinks of
both
JR.
of you said JR. That really. I'm not get. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
we might have to change the questions up because
I
they're too
know.
easy. Apparently, they're too easy.
Yeah,
Everybody knows
too
the
easy.
answers.
These were hard questions. They really were.
Well, Elizabeth, thank
For
you
you
so
though, come on.
Not for you, not for everything you've accomplished and will
Yeah.
accomplish. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for taking the time out. I wish you nothing but luck in your candidacy. Is there any place you want to tell where they can vote at in your district?
So early voting is at the Mansky Library
Okay.
over on Webb Chapel.
Okay.
And then election day, you can vote at the library as well, and Vivian Field and Janie Stark schools. But the main thing is to try to get out at early voting and have your voice be heard and make a difference. Like make a difference. Look, we've seen what happens when we don't vote. We've seen what happens when we just stay in the dining room and complain and don't go out and make an effort to vote.
Don't complain if
Yeah,
you're not going to vote.
we should never ever take our democracy for granted.
No,
It is easy for it to be taken away, but it would not be so easy to get it back. Look at
Regardless.
Venezuela. Look at some of these other countries that were prosperous, very prosperous countries, and look at where they are.
Right.
We have to be
It's
vigilant.
important. Engagement is important. Well, will you promise to come back when you're running for state office or national office one day?
Absolutely. Thank you
All right.
so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
again
you. We
for
wish
being
you the
here.
best
Please
of
have
luck.
a great afternoon. And we'll be back next week with Beyond the Policy, covering everything Dallas with Mark and Lila. Hope to see you.
Thank y'all.